Estongo Seminole. Jeremy Foltz, Cheho Jifkadosen, Mojanita Hadamnita Hidojan Popohan. Well, and today is a special day here. We've been blessed with another beautiful day. I'm going to be your host, Jeremy Foltz. And for the next half hour, we're going to be talking about what's going on the Seminole Nation Reservation. And we have some special guests all the way from the executive office joining us today. We're going to get right into it. We have Chief Lewis Johnson and Assistant Chief Brian Palmer with us today. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning, Jeremy. It's good to be here.
Good morning.
Another beautiful day on the res, on the Seminole Nation Reservation. And so we had some big news that the chiefs thought it would be worthy coming over to the radio station and talking to everyone. And we're going to kind of get right into it this morning. And so there was a big vote yesterday in Oklahoma City. Y'all want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, both Chief Palmer and I and other leaders in Indian country here in Oklahoma met at the Capitol for the vote to override the veto of the governor of the state of Oklahoma, who vetoed a measure that dealt with the tobacco compacts. As many of you know, the expiration of the Seminole Compact took place a few years ago, so this is instrumental that the Senate voted to override the veto because the Seminole Nation, because of no compact in place, has missed out on about $1 million. Now that expired back in 2020. It will make an immediate impact to the Seminole Nation, close to just under $500,000 that we can recoup because of what the Oklahoma Senate did. Now, a lot of efforts went into lobbying for this, putting together, a team of leadership from all of the 38 federal recognized tribes within Oklahoma, and it paid off. So all that collaboration between the tribal nations, other tribal leaders, and the senators who had to lend an ear to us to hear the needs of Indian country as well as our neighbors here in Oklahoma. So I look at it as a piece of legislation that was well thought out. There is a lot of rhetoric about what that legislation was and whether it was legal because of statutes in Oklahoma Constitution, but basically it extended the negotiation period for a year at the levels that those compacts were, in our case, when it expired. So it's going to be very beneficial for the Seminole Nation in the interim, and then it gives us, by good faith, to be able to work intergovernmentally with other governments.
Good deal. Assistant Chief, you got any thoughts on yesterday's vote?
Yeah, just to echo what Chief had mentioned, it's good to see the Oklahoma legislators doing their job and listening to the constituents and listening to the tribes and coming to the table and securing that override on behalf of the tribes and in good faith to extend that negotiation out for another year.
And so yesterday, Senate Bill 26X extended the state tribal tobacco compacts until December 31st of 2024, while there was another vote yesterday, House Bill 1005X, which would extend the motor vehicle registration compacts also until December. Would you have any input on that?
Yeah, so for that one, that's more for the Chickasaw and the Choctaw tribes that offer their tribal tags through the state agencies.
Oh, okay.
Ours is in-house through our BCR, and so that one didn't affect us, but that one was due to expire and would have caused a lot of hardship for those tribes and those other tribal members of those respective tribes.
And so, and if you still want to get a Seminole Nation tag, you can still go over to BCR and grab a tag.
Most
and
definitely.
No Halden services at all here. Everything's going through over at the mission.
That's correct.
All right. And so it sounds like pretty favorable for us, at least to start some negotiations for next year, Chief. Is that what the plan is?
Well, obviously, we have a council resolution that gives the executive office the authority to negotiate the tobacco compact. So we'll continue in good faith to reach out to the governor's office to be able to arrive at what is beneficial for the Seminole Nation. Now, what we don't want is a dictation, and that's what's been happening, and I think a lot of people know that. I believe their offer was 75-25, take it or leave it, 75 to the state, 25 to the Seminole Nation, and that's not something that's acceptable by any tribal nation, and of course the Seminole Nation as well.
And so definitely a good thing moving forward. Now the last vote, it failed by one vote, so it was good to see, I think, an overwhelming, there was only 7 no's, I believe, on yesterday's vote, so over 34 yeses to get that veto overturned. So what else is going on?
I'll share one more thing, and I know that you've announced it a while back when it actually took place in the 10th Circuit, and that's Hooper versus the city of Tulsa. About a week ago, maybe going on 10 days now, I had the opportunity and I was asked by tribal members for support in the municipal courts within the exterior boundaries of the Seminole Reservation. So I attended that court docket. I knew what Hooper versus Tulsa said, and I wanted to see if the municipalities was adhering to the federal ruling. And fortunately for us, the judge honored and allowed me to speak as the principal chief of the Seminole Nation and the current president of the Intertribal Council of the 5 Civilized Tribes, and began to acknowledge the native people that had appeared in that court. Actually, municipalities, according to that ruling, Jeremy, do not have the authority or the jurisdiction to prosecute Native American people within those municipal courts. And we appeared there to be able to elaborate on that, but didn't need to elaborate. The judge began to acknowledge it right away, asking for tribal cards, and then they would move them to a different venue. And that venue is in the proper jurisdiction, which is the Seminole Nation tribal courts.
Well, that's good to hear. So what effect would that have here within our reservational boundaries, Chief? Like, so if you might have a bit of information you want to tell, like the common person that's out there, how would that affect?
Exactly. We're drafting up a unified statement from the executive office to be able to explain that to tribal members so they'll understand what their rights are if indeed they are summoned to one of the municipal courts. And just got through conversating with the city of Wewoka on the same subject matter. So it's a good day in Indian country. We understand that the governor of the state of Oklahoma is going to ask for a stay on Hooper versus Tulsa through the Supreme Court of the United States. The one that will be writing the response is Gorsuch, and he supports Indian country according to law and statute and treaties. So we look for him to not even approve that stay. That's what we hope will happen, so we can continue to exercise our sovereignty and our rights as American Indians within the exterior boundaries of our reservation.
And it was just even maybe a couple weeks ago, the 2-year anniversary of McGirt. Was it 1 year anniversary of McGirt?
Well, with the Muskogee Nation, it happened in 2020. With the Seminole Nation, it was affirmed on April 1st of 2021. Oh, okay. Now, that seems to be the catalyst as far as the common denominator that everybody wants to bring an argument. McGirt has tore Oklahoma apart and so forth and so on. But that's rhetoric by a certain leadership at the state level. And what it is, it brings us back to where it always should have been. A respect for sovereignty in Indian country and the ability to exercise that through a government-to-government type relationship. We have a unique relationship with the United States of America, bound by treaties with native tribes all across this country. The Seminoles are specifically a treaty tribe. We're not an Oklahoma Indian Welfare Act tribe, Indian Reorganization Act tribe. We are a treaty tribe. Therefore, in many cases, we have a stronger stance than other tribes do.
That's good. Chief, I always like talking to you because you always shed the light on it, because a lot of people don't know the history behind a lot of stuff, and you always bring that side to it because you have a good good background in the history, and I know for one I appreciate hearing your thoughts, Assistant Chief.
I've got one update I'd like to share. Last year, the General Counsel approved a resolution for us as administration to apply for the SBA program. It's the SSBCI loan program. And that resolution was simply for us to apply for that program. To date, the U.S. Treasury Office has only approved 15 of those applications, and that's for all the tribes in America, all of the federally recognized tribes. So it's a slow process, but at this point, U.S. Treasury has reviewed our application. There's been good dialogue. It's been positive. The last feedback that we received last Friday, they had no other notes, so now it's simply in queue to be reviewed once again. The U.S. Treasury has extended that deadline once again, so they're giving all the tribes opportunity to apply for that money, and eventually it will become a loan program for tribal members and for businesses within the reservation and outside to apply for business loans. So if you have a business, perform your due diligence, get your feasibility studies in, and have a presentation that is ready so that once that is approved and active, you can submit your application.
And I remember talking to you about that program. I think might have been last year.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was a good opportunity for the nation, and I hope that goes through. I hope the grant gets approved. So
Yeah, and it will. It's just it's new for the U.S. Treasury to offer this, and so it's a process. Like I said, there's only been 15 applications that have been approved out of over 500 tribes in North America. So once that is rolled out, we want our tribal members to be ready. So do your homework on the SSBCI so that whenever you present that, you have all the information for your business. And we hope it is an economic driver within our reservation.
And that was a $10 billion bill.
$10 billion bill. We're hoping that our allocation will be about $4.5 million. And so it's a pretty big thing for us, and there's a lot of requirements that's needed, which is why the process to get the approval is taking some time.
Jeremy, just one more thing. Everyone who knows me knows I don't always put on a jacket or a tie, but we had a great morning, Chief. This morning we had what we call like a kickoff for transportation and transit on 18 projects. We signed the contract this morning, so we're going to start seeing some of the roads begin to be built. Of course, everything's a process when you're dealing with federal funds and processing, bid processing, and things of that nature. And the bid has already been done on the major project, but we're going to start see some of those things come to fruition in the very near future. About 10 days ago, I guess it's been now, we received that nearly $6.5 million for the project to be able to build a new maintenance facility. And that maintenance facility for vehicles is going to be right here in the city of Seminole, actually, right there on the Phillips property. They will be able to do some infrastructural road build outs as well, so that as nice organized C-stores will be developed on that property, and other projects that promote economic development. And that is being actually processed from fee to trust. The application process, got started with the council approving to move along in that way. So we're glad for the progress that's taken place. I always say we must position ourselves for progress, and now that in many areas that is happening, we must also propel ourselves forward. And I believe that the Seminole Nation is doing that very thing. Sometimes it appears that it's taken a little bit longer than maybe our patience may endure, but as we are patient and as we move on and with planning and implementation, we're going to see these things come to fruition. And we appreciate the council working with the executive office on many of these projects.
I was talking to an employee over in transit probably just last week, and she was telling me about some of the projects going on, and this sounds like there's some good work that's getting ready to happen. And she was talking over there on the Phillips property, and it's going to be some good changes, sounds like. So.
Just one more announcement. I know your time is limited as on this radio program, but on August 12th, there's a special called meeting through the Seminole Nation Gaming Enterprise. They sent out a request for proposals for consultant possible management companies. We will be interviewing 4 presentations coming up on August the 12th from 4 companies. Also, it could be one of the most impactful meetings, actually, in the history of the Seminole Nation, at least the temporary history of the Seminole Nation. So if we're going to revamp gaming and possibly go a different direction for the benefit of the Seminole Nation, this is that meeting that's going to take place. Also, we're entertaining a special service agreement with a gentleman who was the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Indian Affairs. He's a graduate of Cornell. Obviously, he's an attorney, but he has much experience on the Hill there in D.C. We're hoping to be able to have the council entertain this proposal to move ahead on what we've always said in our history, the mineral claims. So hopefully the council passes that piece of legislation with an agreement, and also form a reservation, which basically, if you know Oklahoma history, you know the Seminole section of what is called the unassigned lands. We are further ahead on that than we have ever been. So we're fortunate, and what we're saying, and I always say this publicly as well, it's the hands of the Creator and Him releasing His blessings upon us that help us to continue to move forward. So we got some things to be excited about in the Seminole Nation.
Sure sounds like it. Chief, we appreciate your time this morning. Assistant Chief, do you have any other words?
No, just, we're just really excited and really happy with where we're at, entering into the next 2 years of our administration. So the foundation and the framework is there, and so now the shovel's going in the ground, so to speak, and a lot of these projects will be implemented and completed within the next couple of years.
Good deal. And not just to give a peek, I know September is just around the corner. That also means Seminole Nation Days is right around the corner. People, if they haven't been out to the mission in a while, they're going to be surprised by some of the projects that they'll be able to see coming up. Y'all want to say anything about that real quick? Because there's some obvious things out there that will make a difference.
Well, we've got 3 main projects right now that are underway. The arena, obviously, is one of them that should be completed in the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks possibly. The OAP will be migrating into the old bingo hall. At this phase, they are installing flooring, appliances, and paint. And then the council house, which is migrating to the former dialysis center, that's well underway as well, which will be a lot safer, updated facility for us to hold our council meetings and, if needed, tribal court.
Also, the outdoor basketball course will be completed before too long, and also LED lighting all around the 4 Clover ball field has already that was available last year, but just continual improvements in that area. I know that we're pushing for the bid to be done here in the next week, and estimated time for another build out is 6 weeks. So we're looking at Nation Days for another project. I won't announce it now. I'll give them time to make sure they break ground and try to meet that date. But we're looking forward to Seminole Nation's Days 2023, and I think everyone's saying, who is the headliner? And we already signed the contract on that. A lot of our tribal members have insisted on bringing in Native American groups, and we also have the headliner of a Native American group. Chief, you can go ahead and announce it if you'd like.
Drum roll.
Oh, drum roll.
Drum roll.
Right here first.
So we're bringing back Indigenous as our headliner, and the opening act as well will be hopefully a tribal member or our fan favorite.
All right, so you heard it first here on the Seminole Nation radio program. The headliner for the 2023 Seminole Nation Days, Indigenous. All right. Well, Mado, we appreciate y'all coming by. Thanks for all the information. And it's always a pleasure to talk and hear everything that's going on the reservation. So, Mado.
Thank you, Jeremy, for this time.
Mado, thank you.
And again, that was Chief of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, Lewis J. Johnson, and Assistant Chief Brian Thomas Palmer. So we appreciate them for coming by this morning and sharing a bit of what's been going on in Indian country. And, you know, there's usually a lot that's going on about this time. And so we're going to try to squeeze in everything we can for the next 10 minutes or so. We do have some announcements that we'll go through. But again, Mado for the executive office for swinging by and telling us a little bit. So this weekend is going to be church service for a few churches, and I'll go through those real quick. So they have Butler Creek, Cedar Creek, Eufaula, Grave Creek, Greenleaf, Hidgety, Nuyaka, Randall Mission, Sand Creek, Tallahassee, Thawathli, Tokbafka, Tagabuchi, Tuskegee, and Milwaukee Indian Baptist, and then also, I think that's all I have right now. And then the Choga Delumi also is adding the church meeting dates to their monthly publication. So if you're a member of Muskogee Seminole Church and you don't see the church listed, please email seminolemedia@gmail.com and let the communications department know the name of your church and when your next church meeting is, so they can go ahead and add that to the publication. And so it's a little bit later in this segment, Delaney, but every week we talk about the ones who have started their journey, and we would be remiss if we didn't do that again this even today. But a lot of families are missing loved ones, and we want to remember those families and members of the community in your thoughts and in your prayers. And at this time, we're going to go ahead and pause for a moment of silence. All right, Mado. And since the executive office chief and assistant chief was here talking, I'm going to go ahead and go right into the ARPA assistance deadline, which is quickly approaching. TR 2023 or TR 23-33 was passed by the General Council on June 3rd, 2023, which places a deadline on the original $2,000 ARPA funds that became available in October of 2021. Tribal members who have not applied for the ARPA assistance funds have until July 31st, which is quickly approaching July 31st, 2023, to do so. This is not another distribution, but is from the original TR 2021-29 resolution that was passed on September 4th of 2021. And so to apply, to get that taken care of, you can do that at the tribal or the nation's website, sno-nsn.gov. And then we talked about it, Delaney, Chief.
I heard it.
They released some big news. The headliners of the Seminole Nation Day is Indigenous, but that's quickly approaching as well. September 15th through the 17th, Seminole Nation Days. Come celebrate with us. The fair officially opens on Friday, September 15th. So carnival rides, tournaments open up, booths open up. On Friday, there's a stomp dance. Saturday is the parade, traditional meal, the concert that we've been talking about, the State of the Nation. And then on Sunday, September 17th, is the powwow, the fishing derby, archery, and more of the outside events. But then also the Princess Pageant on the 14th, which will be on the Thursday. And so I know they're still taking applications on that. Does that sound right, Bo? Yep, still taking applications. So if you're a young lady out there that's interested in being an ambassador for the nation and you're interested in participating in the Princess Pageant, be sure you get your application in there. All right. You want to talk about that clothing program?
ARPA clothing application is now available to be downloaded on the tribal website, which is www.sno-nsn.gov. $200 disbursement is based on availability of funds. and will be accepted between the months of August 1st and September 30th. Only downloaded applications will be accepted. No emailed, faxed, or copied applications will be accepted. So there's some guidelines to be followed here.
Good deal, and you can find that on the website as well. And then the Seminole Nation Food and Nutrition Services, you get the official invite. I feel like we're just breaking news left and right today, Delaney. It says, join us for the grand opening of our new nutrition education kitchen. And that's going to be August 31st from 10 to 3. Location, Miccosukee Mission, Seminole Nation Food and Nutrition. Lunch will be provided for any questions. Give them a call, 405-257-7236.
The Seminole Nation Higher Education Scholarships.
Yep.
It's a big announcement for that for the fall 2023. And that's been opened already, right? So you can find that on the tribal website.
And then the deadline is September 14th on that one.
September 14th.
And there's a video on Facebook, on the Facebook page, that shows how to fill out the application.
Don't miss out on that one.
Mr. Whitekiller, do you happen to have any good thought-provoking music while I talk to the... Oh, there we go. We got some. Delaney, did you know that the Seminole people have been documented as far as the 1500s in European writings? But more commonly, we began to be more heard of in the 1750s and the 1770s. One famous writer and botanist by the name of William Bartram did excellent writings on the Seminole people in the 1770s, such as one famous Seminole chief, Miko Jepko, who wore a woven beaded diadem, white ruffled shirt, and a turkey feather cape, which is illustrated in Barton's journals. Many other historical writers have done great first-hand accounts of the Seminoles, like Benjamin Hawkins, James Adair, Ethan Allen Hitchcock, and many more. And that piece of information was brought to you by Seminole Nation's own Historic Preservation Office and Mr. Jake Tiger, Cultural Specialist. Motto, Jake, from the Historic Preservation Office, for that piece of information. And then, as Chief was talking about earlier, he talked about us being a treaty tribe. And the Seminole Nation Independence Day celebration is actually happening on August the 7th, which is Monday. So there will be door prizes, traditional meal, T-shirts, and guest speakers. That will be held at the Miccosukee Mission Gym between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. And so come out to celebrate the Seminole Nation Independence Day. All right. So let's talk about, we talked about the Princess Pageant. Sorry, we're trying to go through some things. LIHEAP's still going on. Make sure you give them a call at Social Services. If you're interested in getting some help with cooling assistance, that began back in June. Make sure you give Social Services a call at 405-786-5025 between the hours of 8 and 5, Monday through Friday. They said applications will be accepted at their office by mail, fax, or Social Services drop box. All right, we talked about Seminole Nation Days. The Seminole Nation Baby Pageant is also quickly approaching. It will take place on September 9th, and applications are available on the Seminole Nation website under the News and Events section, and at each Seminole Nation convenience store and the SINDOC, or the Seminole Nation Division of Commerce's administrative office. All entries must be submitted back to the office by August 25th. All right. And let's see, what else do we have? Trying to get through some things. The veterans, remember, every Wednesday out there at the Miccosukee Mission grounds at the new Veterans Building, every Wednesday between 9 and 2:30, there will be a VSR available to help with any assistance regarding disability claims, disability claim reviews, VA health care, burial assistance, benefits and pension, and other things. So if you have any questions, you can contact Galen Greenwald, 951-533-1407, or the office phone over at the Veterans Center, 405-234-5242. All right, and then community and events tonight, Delaney. There's a Seminole language class being held by some of our elders: Rex Haley, Lottie Cootie, Wayne Shaw, Fanny Harjo, and Charlie Hill. That starts tonight between 6 and 9, and then every second and fourth Tuesday at the North Community Building at the Mississippi Mission. Says free and everyone's welcome.
Be a good one.
So it should be a good one. And then also check our Facebook page for back-to-school bashes, all sorts of announcements going on. And Delaney, you got some birthdays?
I sure do. And start off with Cassandra Thompson, Marcus Harjo, Chase Hill, Natalie Harjo, Isaiah Harjo, Chance Yellowfish, Cree Wolf, Porter Wasana, Leo Moffin Sr., Philip Harrison, Stephanie Lambert, Felix Brown Jr., Chinhitsky Nita Fatskit Fudo Wagachas.
That's all?
Yeah, that's all I had on the list.
Oh, okay. Good deal. So, as a reminder, you can catch the rebroadcast of this radio show on the Facebook page, YouTube, and tribal website, sno-nsn.gov, for the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma every Wednesday around 8. If you have news or announcements you want to share on the Community and Events Facebook page, please email the communications staff at seminolemedia@gmail.com or call 405-652-7251. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, tune in right here every Tuesday at 11 a.m. on KWSH 97.7 FM or the legendary 1260 a.m. for producer Mark Williams, Josiah Bender, engineer Bo Whitekiller.
Pin up.
I'm Jeremy Fultz. We'll see you next week.
Later.
Bye.